In this next video, we're going to use a pivot table to create a frequency distribution by age. Now, our starting off point is that we're going to go back to our most recent pivot table that was based upon a phone survey of 100 individuals. Now, our pivot table is right over here. The name of that pivot table, we click on Analyze. We've already named it. And the name of that pivot table was called Party. We had 3 parties. The number of individuals who responded, there were 40 Democrats, 28 Independents, and 32 Republicans. We also, from that pivot table, calculated the percentage of the grand total. We have a chart here from that pivot table. That chart is basically a frequency distribution by party, and it had a secondary y-axis. Now, all of that information was based upon our initial phone survey. We click over here on the sheet. Here's our phone survey that we turned into an Excel table. It lists our 100 individuals. It lists their ages and also their parties. So the pivot table was based upon this table, the name of this table being Data. So let's go back to our pivot table, the first one that we created, the one called Party. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy that pivot table. Highlight it. Right click. Copy. Create a new sheet. And paste it. Same exact pivot table. However, we're going to make some changes. We're going to start off by renaming that sheet Frequency Distribution by Age. After renaming the sheet, we're going to click within the pivot table. So we've renamed it Frequency by Age or Frequency Distribution by Age. Next, we're going to come over to our field names for our pivot table. And we have to think of what our objective is. We want to create a frequency distribution by age. Easiest way of doing that is to come into our box where we have Party, hold down our left mouse, and drag it off to the left. We're going to get rid of it. Next, we're going to go up within our field listings, and we're going to take the field name called Age and drag and drop it into the rows box. All of our ages are now listed, and then a count by each individual age. In real life, what you really want to do is to then take these ages and group them. Easiest way of doing that is by clicking within one of the ages, right-click, group. Our box comes up. Excel has determined that the lowest age is 18. It goes all the way up to 65. And Excel is suggesting that we group by increments of 10. And we're going to go with that. Click on OK. We now have our ages grouped. We have a count by age and also what the percent is of the total. Now I'm going to get rid of this chart by clicking within it. And I want to create another chart once again. I'm within my pivot table. Alt F1 will give me my default chart. We have our columns listed. However, our percents we can't see because we need a secondary y-axis. And once again, we have our age distribution, the counts, percentage of the whole. To change that chart, we need to click within it, right-click, change chart type, click on combo, still listed over here. We need to change our percents to be shown as a line with markers, and most importantly, put a check mark next to secondary axis. Click on OK. And now we have a much cleaner chart. Let's make it a little bit bigger. To get rid of the boxes here, hover over them, right-click, hide all field buttons on chart. We need to have a title. Click on the plus, click on the chart title, come in here, and we're going to rename our chart to frequency distribution by age, or frequency by age. Next thing we want to do is we want to make sure we name our pivot table. So we want to click within the pivot table, click on Analyze, and we're going to name this pivot table Age. Next, we're still within the pivot table. We're going to insert a couple of slices. Click on Insert. Come over here to Slicer. And we're going to put a check mark next to Age and Party. So we're going to have two slices by those two field names. And those slices allow us to filter our pivot tables. Age and Party. Click OK. We're going to move our slices over here to the right. We now have our two slices. We've resized our two slices. And now to link our slices to both pivot tables, and that's important. We want to link our slices to both pivot tables. What we need to do is to look at each slicer and then link them. And how we do that is by right-clicking on the first slicer, call Party, click on Report Connections, and put a check mark next to the Party pivot table. Now once again, we're linking our slices to both pivot tables. Click OK. Go over to our second slicer, right click, go over to Report Connections, and check off Party, which is the name of our other pivot table. Click OK. And what will happen now is that I can click on the slicer here for Democrat. Everything is changed. The number is 40 by age, and once again 40 here. So everything is now linked. Thank you.